1. When I was in 7th grade, there was a girl that came into class who I'll call Sophie. She was wearing cat ears, and she had transferred classes, and much to my dismay, she was seated next to me. Now, I liked anime back then, but I wasn't too into it, and I sometimes drew characters from those animes I watched. I was proud of one of my drawings, so I put it up in my binder, and I had it out during the period. She told me she liked it, and I said thanks. I thought she was weird, but I didn't really want to be mean to her. Over the next couple of days, she became more and more friendly with me. And she became my friend, I guess. Well, she hung around me and my friends and asked me to come places with her and her friends. This is the part where it gets pretty weird. Back then, and still now, I really hate when people touch me, i.e. hugging, patting, etc. I've told my friends and they understood this, but she really didn't. She would do things like play with my hair, pat my head, and try to hug me and hold my hand. Me, being a pretty stupid kid, just let her get away with it, and even went to a point where she waited for me inside the boys' bathroom, until my friends asked her to leave. One day, she started an anime club and begged me to join. I agreed as I didn't want to be mean. A friend of mine also joined, and he brought some snacks, very kind of him, and this girl lied to the teachers saying it was a drawing club. Obviously, he had to chaperone or something, and she kinda just had to talk about drawing. She then suggested that I could teach people how to draw in the club without asking me. I just refused because I really joined as her friend and never really wanted to be involved. This club continued until it was cancelled. She decided we stay after school and just hang out, and me and another couple kids agreed. She kept bragging about how she told my friend who she liked, and it was pretty annoying, to be honest. I got kind of tired of it and said that I was going to say a joke that was going to be a little offensive towards her. I asked a couple of times if I could say it, and she said yes. Keep in mind, I told her it was going to be offensive. I grabbed my phone and said I was going to ask my friend who she liked. She started crying on command, and I just said sorry and told her that I was going to leave. I told her if she wanted, we could talk about it later, but I said it was best for me to leave. I was passing a staircase when two of her friends grabbed and tried to slap me with their hoodie sleeves. I don't know. And then dragged me to her. She told me she would forgive me if I hugged her, and then I just refused and left. I sat in the school field for a few minutes processing what happened. I called my mom and asked her to pick me up, but sadly she couldn't. I was going to pull out my 3DS, but I forgot my backpack. I sucked it up and went to grab it, where she kept trying to apologize to me. I told her to stop and ignored her for the rest of the time I went to get it. The two kids apologized to me before I left, but the damage was done. The next day, people were mad at me, asking why I was bullying her and why I ignored her. I told them my side and told them to ask the people who were there. Most of the people there just told the truth, and luckily I wasn't confronted ever again by anybody. Later she kept trying to message me, but I just told her to stop. She claimed she cried for hours and that she was on pills, and that she liked me. I just blocked her. One of her friends had messaged me, but I told them to leave me alone and blocked them too. She later switched schools. 2. The following is an update to a story featured in the previous Neckbeard video. Now, hundreds of amazing people have commented pretty good advice on hiding a camera on my porch to capture gremlins in the act of being gremlins, and then spam my ghost of a landlord until he has no choice but to do something. I gathered a good amount of footage, but not nearly enough to blast her ass, but the gods of karma have smiled upon me, and I didn't even have to lift a finger for her destruction. I got an email back from the landlord saying he will take care of it. Seemed like empty words. I tried getting my hands on the contract to see if there were any rules she was breaking, but thanks to fires here in California, power has been going in and out, so no luck there. This happened 2 days ago. I was home as usual because having no job sucks, and of course her little raccoons were playing outside with the other kids. Nothing crazy so far. She's sitting on the sidewalk smoking and playing on, I believe, her 3DS. I go outside to take the trash out, and of course she glares at me the whole time. However, she wasn't paying attention as one of her spawn on his bike almost ran into another kid and his mom walking through our parking lot. Now, there's a small path at the very end of my parking lot that leads to a walking and biking trail behind the complex. Tons of people who don't live in the apartments walk through to get to it, and usually everyone's fine with it as long as you don't cause trouble. The kid and his mom were doing this such thing. Now, the kids collide, and it wasn't that big of a collision, more of a hard bump. No one got hurt. However, this mom was having none of it and screamed at this kid all sorts of curse words and accusations. Weeb Karen stops glaring at me and swings her head around to see what the commotion is all about. And when she sees this lady screaming at her now crying kid, she jolts up, as fast as her meat lars of legs could manage, and stomps over to the lady and starts her own screaming match. Now, I didn't get to hear what they were yelling, as they were yelling over each other, and I was a distance away. But a few words I got were cops, assault, couple of see you next Tuesdays thrown in there, and I believe I also heard Nazi. Maybe. Again, it was kinda hard to hear over their shrieking. The arguing gets so heated that it actually devolved into a fistfight. People started coming out of their apartments to see what the heck was happening, and some rush out to break it up. Someone called the cops and had to physically pry these bitches apart, and it took two to hold the weeb monster down. They both got arrested and taken away, and since the husband was at work, they called him and told him what happened and to come get his kids at the station. I was frozen the whole time because I was completely flabbergasted that something like this actually happened. I've heard and seen videos of this stuff happening, but never in person. I didn't hear anything of what happened to her until yesterday, when there was a moving van parked in front of the complex, and I see her and her husband taking furniture and stuff out to the van. I'm completely shocked, and elated, but more shocked. I see one of my neighbors who babysat Weeb Momster's kids sometimes, so she had the inside scoop, peeking over their porch watching them, and I ask what's going on. She says they got evicted and the Weeb mom was moving in with her sister. I ask it's only been 2 days, is the landlord allowed to do that? She told me that all the complaints and stuff have reached him, and he has warned the family multiple times until that incident with me. He told them they are violating a rule in the apartment and they have 3 weeks to move out. And with the incident a couple days ago, plus the involvement of the court, they immediately got pushed to 5 days. Let's just say I let out the biggest sigh I've ever had in my life. She's finally gone! I want to say thank you to everyone who gave me amazing advice and sympathies, and I was honestly not expecting my story to blow up like it did. Y'all rock. 3. The cast: me, Jedi, 27-year-old, average gal with love of all things geeky. Some main passions of mine are anime, Overwatch, Star Wars, and DC Comics. Heebie-Jeebies Beard, a 25-year-old literal man-child. He's kinda tall and very thick all around. Doesn't have an odor, but rocks a baby neckbeard, super into anime. Cookie, a 25-year-old very sweet and hard-working gal. She alerted me to something really important later on. Angel, a 27-year-old literal angel. She's my best friend and overall a really good influence on me. She sees the best in everyone, or tries to at least. She urged me to show some form of kindness to HG Beard. Manager 1, really cool and laid-back lady and a good friend. Manager 2, would always push for me and Heebie-Jeebies Beard to hook up. Not a personal favorite, and had a stern talking to her after this crazy tale. Right, so. I work at a fast food restaurant and it's not terrible. I remember when HG Beard first came in for a job. I was on break and he was sitting there waiting for boss man to come out and interview him. I glanced over his way and instantly felt my skin crawl. My mom and I have really good gut instincts, and we tend to trust and follow them. I remember him trying to strike up a conversation with me, and I was very cold towards him because I just didn't get a good feeling from him. Fast forward a few months later. H.J. Beard got the job, and he was constantly trying to talk to me about anything and everything. If it wasn't work-related, I just ignored him, and if it was work-related, I kept my answers very short and to the point. I have another co-worker who H.J. Beard approached one day and asked if I was single, and of course the answer was yes because I was, but I wasn't looking for a relationship during that time. Either way, H.J. Beard got super into me from that point on. If I remember correctly, I endured 3 months of H.J. Beard's increased interest. I constantly caught him staring at me, and I was just constantly annoyed with him. Then came the day of the cringe. I, H.J. Beard, and Angel were in the kitchen one morning, prepping before the lunch rush. As I mentioned in the cast, Angel is such a good person and a great influence on me. She observed my interactions with H.J. Beard, and urged me to try and show him some kindness because she believed he was just lonely. I've explained to her how he makes my skin crawl, but she's the light of my world, and on this day I attempted to show H.J. Beard some kindness. He was going on about how he wanted to dye his hair green, like the Joker's. I myself have experience with hair dyes since I've been sporting red hair for a while now. I took this opportunity to chime in and suggest a few hair dyes. Oh God, was this a bad move?
Oh yeah? You know, if you come over to my place and dye my hair, I'll take you out for drinks after.
No. And then I walked away. I noped out of that situation so fast. No way was I ever going to be alone with him, let alone mix alcohol into the situation. I guess after that incident, H.J. Beard finally got the point because he stopped talking to me and he ignored me. I was living an H.J. Beard-free life, for the most part. Well, that was until Cookie told me something horrifying. Cookie and I were on the prep table that day, and were just having random conversations, until Cookie brought up a different topic. Oh yeah, by the way, Jedi, H.J. Beard has pictures of you on his phone.
What?
Yeah, he was showing me these pictures of you on his phone. My mind and heart started racing, and not in the good way. Immediately, my mind went to him sexualizing me in those photos. What kind of pictures? How many? There were only a few. I think one of them was you sitting down, the other was you on your phone, and I think the other was you reading a book at your station. Okay, so let me explain a few things here. I have really bad anxiety, and I often have attacks while at work. My anxiety attacks literally feel like I'm dying, and a way for me to get through them is to sit down and focus on my breathing. The management knows of my condition, and I never would abuse it. As for my phone, I work and go to school, and I also live at home with my dad. Sometimes I have to step back to respond to a professor or my dad. Again, management knows this, and also, like everyone else, is constantly on their phones. And sometimes in front of customers. Lastly, about the book. As I said, I go to school. A lot of my courses are reading heavy. Sometimes I'll bring a textbook or two to try and stay on top of homework if I happen to encounter a slow moment at work. And all my other downtime duties have been fulfilled. Again, management knows this and has never had a problem with it before. Okay, back to the story.
What the actual fuck?
Yeah, it was weird, and he was going on about what a crappy worker you are. Which is far from the truth. If anything, he was constantly slacking off with his never-ending conversations that nobody wanted to listen to. At this point, I have realized he has snapped pictures of me while at work, without my consent. I had 2 ideas for the use of those pictures. 1, he could be getting his rocks off, or 2, he was trying to get me in trouble or fired. I immediately go over to Manager 1 and tell her about this. I am beyond creeped out and also really pissed. Manager 1 assured me she would interrogate him tomorrow morning. The next day I came into work late. I didn't want to run into H.J. Beard out of fear of what I'd do to him because I was still incredibly pissed and upset. His car wasn't there, so I went in and Manager 1 and Manager 2 pulled me into the office. So we did some digging around. Apparently HG Beard showed someone else the pictures of you on his phone on breakfast shift. He didn't tell me why he took them, and I told him to delete them. I told him if it ever happens again, there would be serious consequences. I was pissed there wasn't serious consequences now, but okay. I had called my mom the night before, and she told me to get a paper trail going, so I asked him to write up a report. By the way, Manager 2, please don't ever joke and suggest anything sexual and romantic about HG Beard and I ever again, especially after this. He hits on pretty much every girl at work, and not long after this, he got mass reported. 4. About me. I am Katyusha, a bubbly Russian girl, and even though I live in the US now, I still love Russian culture and the food. I also have a lot of interests that attract neckbeards. I love dragons. Some anime, swimming, sauna, and everything that is somehow fantasy in general. Pugbeard, the neckbeard of our story. He is a 300-pound blubber tank smelling like old grease, old Cheetos mixed with Axe body spray, and his breath could be considered a weapon. Not even the fire breath of a dragon could be this deadly. Leah. Leah is the first girl I met at high school. She was there longer than I, and always aided me when I was in trouble. She is also into steampunk and heavy metal, and generally a really tough girl, tougher than I. We did a lot of things together, and became very close friends during the story. Julian. Julian, Lee, and I became an awesome trio during the story, and he's into sports, video games, and also loves culture, languages, and is open to new stuff in general. He would always help me out as well as protect me from Pugbeard from time to time. Now to the story. I migrated to the US from Russia when I was 16 years old, due to my father who got a job there. At first I had troubles with the language, but thanks to the summer break and a lot of language classes, I managed to establish a somewhat decent English. After the summer break was over, our family had established our new home, and I was about to go to my new school for the first time. I was really nervous, so I decided to wear my black shirt with a Chinese dragon on that I bought here after arrival, along with a black skirt. I really loved jewelry, and I had a lot of them, so I decided to wear an Anne Stokes necklace with a dragon on it, along with some dragon-themed bracelets. I got onto the bus since I don't have a driving license yet. I'm pretty nervous on the way, and this feeling doesn't stop as I enter the school. After a lot of formal stuff at the principal's office, I walked through the school a bit disoriented, hoping for someone to guide me to the class. This is where somebody approached me with a friendly smile. It was Leah. She, with a friendly tone, says, "Hey, never saw you here. You must be the new girl. Do you know where your class is?" I shook my head and answered nervously, "No, not yet. Can you help me out?" I show her the paper with my classes on, to which she responds, "Oh, sure. We have some classes together. I know where you have your class. Follow me." She answered before walking to the classroom while I followed. We had a nice talk on the way, exchanging names, hobbies, interests, etc., making me less nervous. As we arrived in the class, we sat down, and soon after we started. This is where I saw Pugbeard coming late to the class. Our teacher was annoyed and asked him why he was late, to which he responds, "I didn't know what class I had. It's not my fault." Our teacher, who probably wouldn't want to argue on the first day, asked him to sit down, with annoyance in the tone. To my demise, the last remaining seat was next to me. From now on, you all know what happens. He sat down next to me. As he did this, I'm sure I heard a squeak of the chair, eyeing me up and down the whole time. I keep looking at the teacher, heavily avoiding gagging due to the waves of disgusting smell. And then I notice how the smell gets stronger due to him getting closer to me. Then our gallant hero wants to strike up a conversation, starting with a totally creepy question. "What is such a beautiful milady," yes, he did say this, "doing here? And how haven't I noticed her yet?" My face involuntarily turns into a blush of embarrassment and confusion. All I managed to say was, looking to my right at Leah for help. The way she looked at me already told me that I was in trouble. He then proceeds to ask the same question again, And the teacher somehow notices this and says, "Katyusha, you haven't introduced yourself yet. Do you want to come to the front and introduce yourself?" I now was torn whether to go to the front and introduce myself, or endure the questions of Pugbeard. I decided to go to the front and introduce myself, and answer the questions of classmates who were actually nice and cool. Pugbeard didn't ask a question, so I thought he heard everything he wanted to know, and that he was just plain curious on who I was. How wrong I was. After the class, Leah and I packed up and left to go on break. After we were at the lockers, Leah told me the following. "Hey, Katyusha, here's a little advice from me. Stay clear of this guy, do you understand? He's totally weird." "But do you want to meet some less weird guys?" I accepted the invitation, and we both went to a spot where she and her friends always meet. This is where I met Julian, and we had a really good time. Exchanged numbers, etc. The whole day went by pretty good, and with Leah and Julian on my side, I felt much better. When I left school to go home, I met Pugbeard again, who waited at the front of the school. He proceeded to waddle towards me, before standing in front of me, rubbing his beardy neck, to look intellectual, I guess, saying, "So, Katyusha, you have a weird name for being such a pretty dragoness." I tilted my head and took a step back. Did he just insult and compliment me in one sentence? Why did he call me dragoness? More question marks popped up around my head, and I looked around for my ride home. Luckily, I saw my mom pulling up in front of the school, so I quickly answered, "Thanks, I guess. But my mom's here, so bye," before walking around him to the car. I think he followed me, asking questions I couldn't understand, and I got into my car and my mom starts with the average first day at school questions. When we arrived home, I spent the rest of the day messaging my new friends and having nice convos, not telling them about the encounter with Pugbeard. 5. Now, I was, for lack of a better term, a social butterfly in high school. I wasn't popular, but I would make friends with anyone and everyone who would bother to talk to me. This includes our main antagonist, Poopyhead. I call her this because my friend Spaghetti said she always smelled like poop. Somehow I had either failed to notice this or just blocked it out. This story also includes my ex, no cool name for him though. Also Spaghetti, bless her, literally warned me about everyone in this story, and if I had just listened to her, this would all have been avoided. Fair warning, I also suck in this story. It all started in the summer of my freshman year of high school, when I got swept up in my first in-person relationship. I was absolutely head over heels in love, however, considering I had no standards or self-respect, it was awful. So we broke it off before Thanksgiving. I was heartbroken, despite us mutually agreeing that the relationship wasn't healthy. Since the relationship was so bad, I started backsliding into my old habits of never doing my homework and lying to everyone about my academic standing, including my ex while we were dating. It only got worse when we broke up, which is where Poopyhead comes in. Now, I had known Poopyhead before all this, outside of school. We went to Girl Scouts together for a short while. Also, we attended a school-run therapy program together in freshman year. I am not over-exaggerating nor trying to be egotistical when I say she had no friends. Spaghetti had told me prior that she had caught Poopyhead leering at her and another friend in the girls' locker room. People literally avoided this girl like the plague for a reason. Despite all this, I felt really bad for her, and I went out of my way to spend time with her, if I ever had a class with her. Maybe if she had friends, she would be better. It'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? So when Poopyhead and I were in US Gov together, I partnered with her for a semester-long project, meaning that once I began to fall behind on homework, our project severely suffered, and I ended up doing none of the work I had agreed to, besides maybe the proposal. Fine, email the teacher, tell him what's up, so he can give me the F, I deserve it. All is fair and done, except that's not what happened. Poopyhead decided that it's not enough to have me flunk out of my sophomore year. She decided that this was a perfect opportunity to essentially slide into my ex's DMs and tell him all the things I was doing, or I guess not doing, behind his back, which was just my homework. I kid you not. This next part plays out like a movie. About 2 weeks after we break up, I was going to go and have lunch with him to get some closure and ask to still be friends. When I saw her, I knew I was dead meat. Everything around me slowed and I just stood there. I was utterly heartbroken. Regardless of my reasons, I still treated her like a normal friend. I had cared about her and I trusted her. She knew what I was going through with the breakup, and that it was incredibly difficult for me. If she had just told the teacher and ended the friendship due to lack of trust, I would understand completely, but this hurt me mad. I actually don't remember what happened after this. I think he got mad, and that's why I lied to him about doing my homework. I'm sure this delighted Poopyhead, despite me not being able to pay attention to her at all. So, since she didn't seize her opportunity to just work this out civilly with the help of the teacher, I got to be the one to tell our teacher what had happened. I did not flunk my sophomore year and got to finish up the project solo in a separate class. Also, the teacher is genuinely cool, so I'm not sure if he would have flunked me. I had him again my senior year, and I was really proud to pass his class with flying colors. Oh, but it's not over yet. My ex and I had another talk, I forget why. But he ended up siding with her, I think. I was so mad and hurt that I responded with the worst thing I could ever think of, which was, I want to punch her in the face. Mind you, I'm a big weenie. My arms are wet noodles. She, on the other hand, took wrestling, and I'm pretty sure she had gotten into physical fights before. I'll let you do the math. I did not punch her in the face, sort of wish I did, but I got called into administration. I told them ashamedly that I was just really mad and couldn't think of any other way to convey my sheer rage, and they just let me go. Word got back to her, though, since I got banned from a therapy classroom I used to hang out in with some friends I had. I had graduated in freshman year, while she stayed. I eventually told my mom, since she was concerned I was distraught for so long, who called my ex's mom, coolest lady ever. She said, "Oh, she invited him to see a play that she's in. I think she just thinks he's going as a friend. I'll have to talk with him." See, I told you. This was the last I heard of them talking. I know they didn't go out since I knew he wasn't interested, but I have no idea what happened after this. My ex and I had some normal closure after all this, and I honestly wish him the best. Spaghetti and I are still friends to this day, and she actually sent me an update on Poopyhead not too long ago. It's a Vice interview from 2018 about homelessness. Poopyhead and her mom are living out of a leased car, spending most of their money at Denny's. It paints the duo in a sympathetic light, but all of the comments are roasting their poor financial decisions. I'm excited to finally have this experience purged from my system. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Neckbeards in the Wild, number 54. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. Okay, well, Neckbeard, this is a Sunday video, isn't it? Okay, well, nothing planned for tonight, no streams or anything. I'll likely start back work a little bit, trying to get the week organized. Yep. A slightly better week this week, getting things organized than it was last week. Still trying to put together one, but I think we'll be okay with that. So not too bad overall, and I'm gradually getting back to semi-normal work speed. Not quite there yet though, but we're getting there. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.